everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we have with us Varshini. She'll take you through the winter 2024 paper 22 of IGCSE Mathematics, and she'll be explaining to you each question in great detail. Over to you, Varshini.
Yeah, hi everyone. So today I'll be doing paper 2 from winter 2024, October, November. Right. Okay, so this is the first question. These are the first 8 terms of a sequence. So it's C minus 3, minus 9, minus 15, minus 21, minus 27, minus 33, and K. And C and K are just random variables. So they want us to find the value of C and the value of K. Okay, so first we need to find the difference between each of these terms. And so we can see minus 3 and minus 9. So to find the difference, we just need to subtract the second term from the first term. So it's going to be minus 9 minus 3. And you can just put this in your calculator or you can do it in your head. But if you're putting in your calculator, don't forget to add the signs. So you'll get minus 6 as the difference. So now let's find the difference between these two terms. So we know this is going to be minus 6. And to find the difference between this, again, we do minus 15 minus 9. And if you do that, you'll get the same answer, which is equal to minus 6. So we know that each of these are the same, and if you do it for all of these terms, it's going to be minus 6 again. So that means the difference between minus 3 and C is also going to be minus 6. And as we calculated over here, we know that minus 3 minus C is going to equal minus 6. So now all we have to do is make C the subject of the formula. We can take it to the other side and make it minus 3 and take 6 to the other side. And remember, the signs get flipped when we add. So we're adding 6 on both sides. So it's going to be minus 3 plus 6 equals, and again, we're adding C on both sides, so equals C. So we're going to get C as equal to 3. Okay, so now we just need to do the same thing for K. So again, we know that the difference between these is minus 6, and we know minus 33, minus 33 minus 6. Yeah, so we know minus 33 minus 6 is going to equal K. So now we just have to do minus 33 minus 6. If you put that right in your calculator, you'll get minus 39. Okay, to the next question. The diagram shows an isosceles triangle. Find the value of x. Okay, so we know that in any isosceles triangle, two sides are equal, and over here they've shown us that these two sides are equal. And so that means that these two angles are also equal. The angles of the equal sides will also be equal. So we know that this angle over here is going to equal 43 degrees. And we also know that angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we know that x plus 43 plus 43 equals 180. Now to find x, all we have to do is make x the subject of the formula. So again, we just subtract minus 43 minus 43 from this side to remove them from this side. So we're going to get x equals 180 minus 2 into 43. So again, all you have to do is put that straight into your calculator and you'll get 94. So we know x equals 94. Okay. 3. Complete each statement with a number from the list. So over here they've given us the numbers 0.25, 3.142, and we also know root 3, minus 3, 24, minus 0.4, 1.2, and minus 1 by 4. So firstly, they've asked us for a natural number. We know that a natural number is a whole number which doesn't include zero or decimals, so or negative numbers. So we want the number over here, which is a whole number and doesn't include zero or decimals. And the only number like that over here is 24. So 24 is going to be our first answer. And secondly, we want an irrational number. So we know that an irrational number is has continuing decimals, and it can also be imperfect squares. So over here we see an imperfect square. So this is a potential answer. Um, you could also get easily mistaken and think 3.142 because we know it to be pi and we know pi is an irrational number, but this number is not the entire pi. It's not entire pi. It's just 3.142, and so as it's just a few decimals, it's not an irrational number. So the only irrational number here is root 3. So this is going to be root 3. And lastly, the reciprocal of 4. So we know that a reciprocal of a fraction, so if it's r by q, we know the reciprocal is going to be q by r. So, and we also know 4 is nothing but 4 by 1. So the reciprocal of 4 is going to be 1 by 4. Now, we don't see any 1 by 4s here. Remember, this is negative 1 by 4, not 1 by 4. So now we need to check if each of these decimals are equal to 1 by 4. So all you have to do is you could just do it manually. You could just put this 0.25 into your calculator and then click the switch button, which should switch it from a decimal to a fraction, and you'll get 1 by 4. So 0.25 is our answer.
I think they tried to confuse us here by using the negative reciprocal, and they were like, yeah, let's just confuse them. Right?
Definitely. Okay, to the next question. The scatter diagram shows the number of rooms and the number of people in each of 8 buildings. So on the y-axis we have number of rooms, and on the x-axis the number of people. One of the buildings has 67 rooms, so over here it should be 67. Write down the number of people in this building. So first, let's identify the plot of 67. So we know that each plot here there are 5 for 10. So we know over here one box equals, it's going to be 10 by 5, which is 2. So we know 62, 64, 66. Over here should be 66, and in the middle of 66 and 68 we have 67. So this is our plot for 67 rooms. So now we just want the number of people, so we're just going to draw a line directly down. Right, so we're just going to draw a line directly down from here, and this is going to be our number of people. So again, one box will be equal to 2, so it's 72, 74, and 76. So the number of people is going to be 76.
Also, I think in these types of questions, it's better that you leave back the line instead of erasing it. Some people do erase it, and that could be a problem, I've heard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they need to see you're working. Okay. In another building, there are 42 people and 33 rooms. On the scatter diagram, plot this point. Okay, so we know there are 42 people. So that means on the x-axis, number of people, we need 42. Let me just make my font thinner. Yeah, so we need 42. So, and we know that each box is 2, so 42 will be over here. So we want somewhere along this line. So now on the y-axis, 33 rooms. So now let's go up here. 33 we know is going to be, so we know one box is 2, so this is 32 and this is 34. So it's going to be in between 32 and 34. So somewhere along this line. So now we just draw the lines and see where they intersect. So it's going to be over here, and then from down here. So our plot is going to be right here. So for this, you do need to erase the lines after. So I'm just going to take this out. Um, and let's just draw our plot first so we know where it is. So it's going to be somewhere over here. And in the exam, use a really thin pencil and make sure that your crosses are as small as the rest of the other crosses. Okay.
No, also like you have to use crosses or a dot with a circle. So, yeah,
Yeah.
some people just dots. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Don't use dots. Yeah, you're not allowed to, and you'll definitely won't get marks for that. Okay. On the scatter diagram, draw a line of best fit. So we know for a line of best fit, it doesn't need to pass through all the points, but most of the points, and it also needs to have an equal number of points on the other side, on each side of the line. It also doesn't need to go through zero. So what you should do is just, if it doesn't go through the first time when you draw the line, you can just draw it again until you feel that you have a good number of points. So let's say we draw the line somewhere along here. So then we have 1, 2, 3, around 3 points on this side, and we have 3 points on the other side. So let's just make it pass through this point as well. Okay, yeah. So I think this is a good place to draw the line. And your line, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. It can look similar, or it doesn't have to look similar. But also make sure that the bottom of the line goes all the way down to the x-axis, and the top of the line extends to the end of the graph as well. Okay. There are 45 people in a different building. Find an estimate for the number of rooms in this building. Okay, so to do this, let's go back up to our graph, and this is in a different this is not in this building. This is in oh wait, no, sorry, hold on. This is in a different building, and we know that there are 45 people in this building. So the number is going to be somewhere along here. So 42, 44, and 45, which is in between 40 46 and 44. So again, all we have to do is draw a line up to our graph and extrapolate where this is. So over here, 45 is going to be over here. And again, all we need to do is again extrapolate this line uh, back to, I think it's over here. So if you do this, you should get somewhere around 30. I'm sure there's a range in let's check in the marking scheme. I think the range is around 27 to 33. So it depends on how, not everyone's line is going to look the same. But if you get somewhere around this, it should be right. So yeah, 30. Okay, to the next question. Okay, what type of correlation is shown in the scatter diagram? So let's go back up to our diagram, and we know that there are two types of correlation: positive and negative. And we know for positive that when one increases, the other is also going to increase, and it's going to look like a sloping line upwards. And we know for negative, when one increases, the other is going to decrease. So it's going to look like something like this. Yeah, so for positive correlation, it's going to look something like this. And we can also just, even if we don't know any of this information, we know that both are going to increase. And so we can look at the x-axis, and we know that as the numbers are so let's take any 2 points. We take this point, it's somewhere around 30 and 10. Then we can take another point somewhere around 55 and 35. We can see that both the numbers have increased, and as it follows like that for all of these, we know that all these points are roughly increasing together for both the number of rooms and the number of people. So then we can say that the correlation is positive. Okay. Convert 7.51 meters squared into centimeters squared. Okay, so we know that 7.51 is meters squared, which is meters into meters. So now we want to convert this to centimeters. And we also know that 7.51 meter, that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So this is 7.51 meters into meters. So now to convert this much into centimeters, we're gonna have to multiply it into 100 for 1 meter, and again into 100 because it's meters squared. Okay, so now all we have to do is 7.51 into 10000. So if you put that in your calculator, you should get 75100. So that will be our answer. Okay. The diagram shows a trapezium. The area of the trapezium is 42 centimeters squared. Calculate the value of x. Okay, so we know. Oh, wait, sorry. Okay, yeah. Hold on. Yeah.
Wait, you could just zoom in a bit. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Okay. So we know that for a trapezium, the area formula is half h into a plus b, where a plus b is the parallel side. So that's going to be, in this scenario, x is going to be a and 9.5 is going to be b, or you could take it the other way around, but it doesn't matter. And we also know over here that the height is 6. So all we have to do is find the value of x. We know that this is going to be equal to 42. So we can also say that half into 6 into a plus b, which is x plus 9.5, equals 42. So first let's get rid of these by dividing both numbers by half. So first we can calculate half into 6, which is nothing but 3. Hold on. Nothing but 3. So this is 3. So now we want to get rid of 3. So we have to divide both sides by 3. So 42 divided by 3 is going to be 14. So then we can get x plus 9.5 equals 14. And we can also remove the brackets from here because now it's just addition and not multiplication anymore. So now again, all we have to do is subtract 9.5 from both sides to get x as the subject of the formula. So 14 minus 9.5, which will be 4.5. So we get x equals 4.5. Okay. 7. Without using a calculator, work out 2 by 7 divided by 6 by 11. Okay, so we know that for dividing fractions, all we have to do is flip. So we want 2 by 7 divided by 6 by 11. So we know that to do this, all we have to do is reciprocal this one, the second fraction, and change the sign into a multiplication sign. So we're going to get 2 by 7 into 11 by 6. And reciprocal is just flipping with the numbers. Okay, so now this is easy. We just need to multiply 2 by 11 and 7 by 6. You can put that in your calculator and you'll get 22 divided by 42. So now to simplify this, you can just put this into your calculator, or you could I think since they want it as a fraction in its simplest form, you need to show them that you're dividing what you're dividing it by. So you can just keep if you're unsure like which number fits into both of these, you can just keep dividing these by 2. So first time we're just going to divide them by 2, and it's going to be 11 divided by 21. And I think that is the simplest form. So if you're not sure if it's the simplest form, or if you want to recheck any of your working, you should just put this directly into your calculator and you'll get the answer. But they just want to see how you're doing it. Okay. For the next question. The diagram shows a parallelogram. Work out the size of the smallest interior angle of the parallelogram. So we know that for a parallelogram, this angle over here, this angle is going to be equal to this angle And we know that this angle, this one, is going to equal this angle. And we also know for all these shapes that the sum of all these angles is going to be equal to 360 degrees. Wait, sorry, hold on. We know that for the sum of interior angles for any shape is nothing but n minus 1 into 180. So n minus 2, my bad. N minus 2 into 180. So if we do that over here, we know n, where n is the number of sides. So over here, that's just going to be 2 into 180, and you'll get 360. Or if you don't want to do it this way, you also know that for any quadrilateral with 4 angles, the sum of the interior angles is 360. But this is just to recheck if you're unsure. Okay, so we know that this angle equals this angle and this angle equals this angle. So we can also say that 2 times, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, 2 times 132 minus 2x plus 2 times 15 plus 5x is going to equal to 360. So first we just need to find x. So you can expand these if you want. 2 into 132. So you'll get 264 minus 4x plus 30 plus 10x equals 360. So now we can add the x terms, which is minus 4x and 10. And by the way, when you're multiplying these out, don't forget to include the minus sign in this bracket. So now we can add the x terms, the like terms, which are minus 4x and 10x, and we'll get, so you can just put this in your calculator, 10x minus 4x, which is 6x. And we want x to be the subject of the formula. So we're going to equate this to 360, and we're going to subtract the non-x terms from 360 because we can, since they both don't have x in them. So we want to subtract 30 and 264 from this side. It's going to be 360 minus 30 minus 264. So if you work this out in your calculator, you'll get 66. So we get 6x equals 66. And to find x, we should divide both sides by 6, and we'll get x equals 11. But remember, they don't want us to find x, they want us to find the smallest interior angle of the parallelogram. So how do we do that? We could either take both of these sides and see which is smaller, but we also know that this angle over here is less than 90 because this would be 90. And this angle over here is more than 90 because this much would be 90. So we know that this is an acute angle and this is obtuse, and we know that this angle will obviously be smaller. So now we just need to substitute back x in here to find the size of this angle, and this is the smallest interior angle. Remember, this side is equal to this and this is equal to this. So these are the only two angles. So it's going to be, so we should substitute back 11. So that will be 15 plus 5 into 11, and you'll get 65. Wait, hold on. Sorry, not 65. You'll get 70. My bad. Okay. Okay, question 9. Points A, B, C, and D lie on a circle. ABCD is a square with area 72. Okay, a square with area 72. And we know that this side equals this side, and which is equal to this side and this side. Okay, calculate the area of the circle. Give your answer as a multiple of pi. Okay, so to find the area of the circle, we know the area of the circle is pi r squared. So what we need to do now is find the radius of the circle. So let me just erase these blanks. Okay. So the radius over here is going to be this length. And so now we can just make this let's just connect these. Okay, so we know that this is going to be the diameter of the circle, and half the diameter is equal to radius. So diameter equals 2r. And we can also find this easily because of Pythagoras theorem. We know a squared plus b squared equals c squared for a right angle triangle, and since it's a square, all angles are 90, so this over here is going to be a right angle triangle. And we also know that we know the area of the square is 72, and in a square the area is nothing but side squared, which is going to be the sine to the side. So to find, we know that side squared equals 72, so to find the side we have to do root 72, and that is going to give you 6 root 2. Okay, so we know now that each side is 6 root 2, and we also know that to find the diagonal over here, we're just going to have to do 6 root 2. We're going to have to find this side squared plus this side squared and root of that to get us this diagonal. And then when we divide that by half, we're going to get the radius of the square. So the radius of the circle. So first we're going to put this into this formula. So 6 root 2 whole squared plus 6 root 2 whole squared is going to give us the radius squared. And we can also take out the square sign and take the root of this. So you can just directly put this in your calculator. I think that'll be a lot easier. And yeah, just put it in your calculator, and you should get 12. So now we know, the diameter, this is diameter square, and we know the diameter is 12, and don't forget the radius is half the diameter, so r is going to be 6. Now remember, they want the area of the circle, so it's going to be pi r squared. We know it's pi r squared, so it's going to be pi into 6 squared. But also they want our answer in terms in a multiple of pi, so we can't expand pi here or put it into our calculator. All we need to do is 6 squared into pi, and we know 6 squared is 36. You can always put into your calculator to recheck. So here we have 36 pi, and that's our
I
answer.
think for questions like these, like for some people, it makes sense that they just draw out the circle once and do it, like with their own hand, like write everything so that they don't get confused. Like for people like me, who are like so many steps, and yeah. So for
Yeah,
me,
I
I
think
think
yeah. If you're ever confused about these type of questions, just draw it out yourself, and it often gives you a lot of clarity. Okay, for the next question, calculate cube root of 1 plus 10.9 into 0.4 squared. So here we can't just directly put this into our calculator because we need to know where the brackets are, and we also know the rule of BODMAS. So we know that first of all is multiplication, which is here before addition and subtraction. So it's going to be 1 plus 10.9 into 0.4 squared. And we also know that it's just 0.4 squared. It's not 10.9 plus into 0.4 whole squared, or else they would have put the brackets there. Then we can add the final brackets on this if you want, and put this in a cube root. So now you can just put this directly into your calculator, and you should get 1.4. Okay, factorize fully 24x squared minus 9xy. Okay, so to factorize this, we over here we need to see which terms are repeating. So we know that x is coming in both of these terms, so we need to factor x out, and 24 and 9. So 24 is not a multiple of 9, but we know that they can both be divided by 3. So if you're confused about this, you can just put 24 divided by 9 in your calculator. 24 by 9 9 equals 8 by 3. So we know that in simplest terms, if we we'll get 8 by 3, and we also know 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that means that 3 is the common factor for both of these. So we know we can take 3 out, and we also know we need to take x out. So if we take 3 and x out over here, so now to put them inside the bracket, we're going to divide both terms by 3x. So 24 divided by 3 is 8, and x squared divided by x is just x. So it's going to be 8x. And now this term divided by 3x. So we know, and don't forget the minus sign always. So minus 9 divided by 3 is minus 3, and xy divided by x will just be y. We're just going to be canceling out the x. So if we take the x here, we just cancel out this x, cancel out the x squared. Yeah, so it's going to be minus 3y. And that's our final answer. So you can just write it again in the brackets. In the line. And don't forget to write everything in the line. I don't think the examiner checks it if it's in the space. Okay, yeah. So next we have 63x squared minus 28y squared. So this looks something like our formula, which is x squared minus y squared equals x minus y into x plus y. So the numbers do look a little confusing. So first we need to take out the common number. So again, just do 63 by 28 in your calculator, and you'll get 9 by 4. So again, 63 by 9 is 7. So we know that over here, and if you do 60, I'll just put this over here, my 28 equals 9 by 4. And then 63 by 9, so we know that you're dividing by 7 over here, and divide by 7. So now we can take 7 out, and we'll get we'll get 9x squared minus 4y squared. Okay, so now we also know that 9 and 4 are perfect squares. So we know 3 squared is 9 and 2 squared is 4. So now we can easily write this in this format. So equals 7 times, don't forget the 7 in the front, and x over here is going to be the root of 9x squared, which is 3x, minus, now again, the root of 4y squared, which is 2y. And into, it's going to be these terms with a plus sign instead of the minus sign. 3x plus 2y. So now you can just put this straight over here. You can write it again over here. Okay, to the next question. Y is directly proportional to the square root of x plus 1. So we know, hold on, okay, y is directly proportional. This is the sign. Wait, instead of writing it like this, we also know that when it's directly proportional, it's some number, which we can write as k, equals k times the square root of x plus 1. The square root of x plus 1. And we also know that y equals 10.5 when x equals 8. Find y when x equals 1.5x. So first we need to find this multiplier, so then we can substitute everything back in. So first, y equals 10.5 and x equals 8, we just substitute these in. So 10.5 equals k times the square root of 8 plus 1, and 8 plus 1 is 9. And the square root of this is nothing but 3. But you could just put this in your calculator. So then we just need to define k, make k subject the formula. We need to divide both sides by 8 plus 1. So we're going to take this out and do divided by root 8 plus 1, which is also just 3. So if you do that, 10.5 divided by 3, you'll get k equals 3.5. So now we can rewrite this equation over here and say y equals 3.5 times root x plus 1. So now they want us to find y when x equals 1.56. So again, all we need to do is put x right in here and say y equals 3.5 times root 1.56 plus 1. So root 1.56 plus 1 into 3.5, which should give you 5.6. And so that's our y answer, 5.6. Okay, yeah. Question 13. The region R satisfies these inequalities: minus 3 smaller than y smaller than equal to 2, and y smaller than equal to x minus 1. By drawing suitable straight lines and shading the unwanted regions, remember unwanted, find and label the region R. So R is going to be the triangle in the middle, or whatever shape in the middle that's satisfied by all lines. So first let's split this into two. So that's going to be minus 3 smaller than y, and also y smaller than equal to 2. And lastly, this one, which is y smaller than equal to x minus 1. Okay, so first we know that for when it's just greater than or smaller than, it's going to be a non-dotted line, and for smaller and for whenever it's going to be a dotted line, and when there's an equal to sign, it's going to be it's not going to be a dotted line. It's going to be a solid line like that. Okay, so yeah. And now all we need to first, we're just going to draw the lines. Okay, so for this, all we need to do is draw the line of y equals minus 3. So over here, these are the y values. So y minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Over here is going to be the y value of minus 3. And since it's just a smaller than a y greater than sign, it's not going to be a dotted line. So we're going to draw. Oh, sorry, it is going to be a dotted line, my bad. Very good, she's going to draw. And remember to use a scale when you're doing this, and make sure it's exactly along the line. Mine is not perfect. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but make sure you're using a scale. Okay, so the next one is y smaller than equal to 2. So here is y is equal to 2, and since it's a smaller than equal to sign, it's going to be a straight line. It's not going to be a dotted line. So along y equals 2. And lastly, we have y smaller than equal to x minus 1. So now to make this, we can just make the table of x values and y values. So we can just take whatever values we want. When x is 0, y is going to be 0 minus 1, which is minus 1. When x is 1, y is going to be 1 minus 1, which is 0. When x is 2, y is going to be 2 minus 1, which is minus 1. When x is 3, y is going to be 3 minus 1, which is 2. So now we can just plot these. We have these points, and we can just plot them. X is 0, y is minus 1. When x is 1, y is 0. When x is 2, y is... Wait, hold on a minute. When x is 2, y is minus... Wait, what am I doing wrong? Oh yeah, sorry. It's y is 1, my bad. Not 2, not minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So y will be 1 over here. And when x is 3, y will be 2. So it's going to be up here. Okay, so now we have enough points. We can just draw the line. Just pass your line straight through all your points. It should look like this, something. And again, this is not a dotted line because it's smaller than equal to. So now to find which regions we need to shade, remember the unwanted regions, okay? We're going to look at these inequalities again. So here we know that y is greater than minus 3. Okay, so if we look at minus 3 over here, okay, it's going to be, this is minus 4, minus 5. This down here is getting smaller. and up here 2 1 2 minus 2 minus 1 0 1 2 3. It's getting bigger, so we know that it needs to be greater than. So this is the whole thing, this is the region we want, and we don't want over here. So we're going to shade what we don't want. We don't want y to be smaller than minus 3, so we're just going to shade this. And make sure your shading is legible and not like too untidy, and use a scale to shade if you want. Okay, so for the next one, y smaller than equal to 2. So this is y is 2, and we want it to be smaller than equal to. So it needs to be down. So 1 over here down, again, it's getting smaller. So it needs to be over here. We don't want it to be greater than 2, which is 3, 4. We don't want it to get above 2. So again, we're just going to shade this region. Okay. Yeah. So now, again, the last one, which will be y smaller than equal to x minus 1. So for this, we have this line, and so we know that, so it's either going to be on this side of the line or this side of the line. So we can take any point on either side of the line. We can take over here 1 minus, minus 1 comma 1. So over here, x equals minus 1 and y equals 1. So we need to check for this equation, is this inequality true? So is 1y smaller than equal to x minus 1, which is minus 1 minus 1? So is that true? So we can take this over here, and we know minus 1 is minus 2. So is 1 smaller than equal to minus 2? Smaller than or equal to minus 2? And no, it's not smaller than or equal to minus 2. We know for a fact that minus 2 is smaller than 1. So that means this region over here, we don't want this region. So we're just going to shade this region. And so over here is our last region, this, and we know this is the wanted region. So we can draw an R. Okay, to the next question. 14. The diagram shows the speed time graph for 17 seconds of a car journey. So on the y-axis here is speed, and on the x-axis is time. Find the acceleration of the car during the first 10 seconds. So we know for any speed time graph, the gradient is going to be acceleration. And to find the gradient, we know it's y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. Over here, y1, we can have this point as x2 comma y2, and this point as x1 comma y1. So now we just need to do this point. So over here, y is going to be 20. So 20 minus 0 divided by, at this point, x is, at this point, x is 10, at this point, x is 0. So 10 minus 0. So that's nothing but 20 by 10, which is 2. So you should get 2 meters per second squared. If you're also confused about if acceleration is the gradient, we also know that speed is meters per second and time is second. So if you divide meters per second by second, you'll get meters per second square, which is a unit of acceleration. Okay, calculate the total distance traveled by the car during the 17 seconds. We want the total distance. Okay, so we also know the distance is area under the graph. D equals area under the graph. And over here, we just need the area under this section plus the area under this section. So, and we want it for this for 17 seconds, not just for 10 seconds. Remember, we also want this part. So this area is easy to calculate. It's a rectangle. So for 10, area 1, let's start. Yeah, area 1 equals, and we know the area of a rectangle is just the height into the breadth. We know the height here is 20, and the breadth here is going to be 17 minus 10. So it's going to be 20 into 17 minus 10, which is 20 into 7, which will be 140. So now for area 2, we want the area of the triangle. And we know for a triangle, It's equal to half into AB, where for any right angle triangle. And this is right angled. We can tell this is right angled. So we know A and B here is going to be this, the breadth and the height. So this is going to be 10. We know this is 10, and this again is 20. So that is going to be half into 10 into 20. So now if you calculate this, you just put again straight into your calculator, or you could do it in your head, but always just recheck with the calculator to make sure it's accurate. So if you get this, you should get 100. So now all we got to do is area 1 plus area 2. Remember, we want the total distance. So that's going to be 240. And that should be your final answer. Okay, 15. At the start of an experiment, there are 40,000 bacteria. The number of bacteria increases at a rate of 15% per hour. Calculate the number of bacteria after 3 hours. So if we know for percentage increase, uh, the amount is equal to the initial into 1 plus r by 100 to the power however many times this much is repeating. And over here, we know that the number of bacteria after 3 hours. So that's going to be n equals 3. And over here, the initial amount over here is going to be 40,000. So P equals 40,000 at a rate of 15% per hour. So now all we need to do is substitute everything into the formula. So it's going to be 40,000 into 1 plus 15 by 100 to the power 3. So again, you can just put this straight into your calculator, into 1 plus 15 by 100 to the power 3. And that should give you 60835. So don't get confused here. Just use the formula, substitute everything into the formula, and you should get your answer. And for this also, when you get an exact number, especially for these bacteria rate increase questions, don't round it off to 3 significant figures. Keep it in its full form. Okay, question 16. 75 people are asked if they have a car, C, and if they have a job, J, and the Venn diagram shows the results. So these are the people with the car, these are people with the job, these are people with both, and these are people with none. A person is chosen at random from those who have a car. Find the probability that this person also has a job. Okay, so that's going to be, so for this, it's going to be the probability that, it's chosen from those who have a car. So the person is chosen out of this. So the total is going to be 9 plus 51. So we know that for probability, it's going to be part by total. Okay, so we know that the total is going to be 9 plus 51 because it's out of those who have a car. It's out of all of these people. And find the probability that this person also has a job. So we want the probability that they do have a job, which is going to be 51. So it's going to be, so again, you can just put this straight into your calculator. And you'll get 17 by 20 or 0.85. You can write it however you want. I feel like it's better. I mean, I always write it in decimal. I think they do like it if you write it in fraction also, actually. So we just write it in fraction, which is 17 by 20. Okay. For the next question, 17. A, B, and C are points in the circumference of a circle with center O. This is the center. DA and DC are tangents to the circle. That's DA and DC. Angle ABC is 64. This angle is 64. And work out the value of x. This is x. Okay, so we know that first of all, we want to find this angle, and we also know that this over here is going to be a triangle, and we know that it will be a right angle triangle because we know that the angle between a tangent and the radius at the same point will be a right angle. It's 90 degrees. So that means that this is a right angle triangle. And again, we can just draw this right angle triangle again if it's confusing. Over here, this is A. Yeah. The hypotenuse over here will be, it's going to be D, and this is going to be O. Okay. And we know that this is going to, we're bisecting it by half because we also know that this tangent is equal to this tangent because the radius and this length is the same. So these two triangles are exactly the same. So this is just going to be, this angle is going to be x by 2. So all we need to do is find, so now we have this triangle. So what else information do we have? We know that this angle is equal to 64. And we also know that for any figure, when that a triangle, like an angle subtended by this arc is going to be twice, so going to be half the angle subtended by the same arc at the center of the circle. Yeah, and we also know that okay, so we know that this arc over here is this to reach this triangle, and we also know that the arc at the center is the same arc. So we can use this rule, and we know that O is going to be 64 into 2. So you put that into your calculator. So angle AOC equals 64 into 2 equals 128. But remember, we don't want the whole AOC. We only want half AOC to find our triangle. Yeah, we only want half AOC. So half AOC, this angle, is going to be AOD. So AOC by 2 equals AOD equals 64. So now we know this angle is 64. Okay, and now again, we know this angle is a right angle, and we want this angle to find half of x. We also know that an angle in a triangle is equal to, all angles in a triangle are equal to 180. So we do know that the right angle, which is 90 plus 64 plus half x, plus half, x by 2 equals 180. So now all we need to do is calculate x, make x the subject of the formula. So we just freaking subtract both sides by 90 and 64. But yeah, so we know, so it's going to be x by 2 equals 180 minus 90 minus 64. So if you put that in your calculator, hold on, 180 minus 90 minus 64, you'll get 26. So you know x by 2 is 26. And now we just need to get rid of this 2. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And we're going to get 26 into 2. And again, just put that in your calculator. And you'll get x as 52. That'll be your answer. Okay, question 18. So we know that all the this is signed for all the elements in the set. This is equal to 8 into 10 to the power minus 1. Sorry, yeah, these are all the elements. So 8 into 10 to the power minus 1, comma, 0.8, 0.8. And since there's a dot over here, we know it's going to be 0.88888, 8%, and root of 0.08. So we know that so basically they want us to complete the Venn diagram. So we know that in this region, so in A, it's going to be all the elements in A is going to be the numbers between 0.08 to 0.8, which is also included, as we know, by this sign. So first, let's find all numbers in terms of decimals so we can see whether they fit into this set. Okay, so we're going to rewrite these. You can just put this in your calculator if you're confused, but this is nothing but 8 divided by 10. So 8 and 10 to the power minus 1, just put in your calculator and you'll get 0.8. So now for this, it's 0.888. And 8%, again, we know 8% is always 8 by 100. That's what a percent is. So if you do that in your calculator, you'll get 0.08. And lastly, root of 0.08. So again, just put this into your calculator.
It's
No, but I
fine.
think they designed the paper with like you're supposed to use the calculator, so you can't not use a
This one,
calculator.
yeah, but like if for the non-calculator paper, it would
Yeah,
like
yeah, fine. Okay, again, so root of 0.08. So all you have to do is put this into your calculator, and you should get 0.28, around something like 0.283. We're gonna round this off. Okay, so now for the values of a, it needs to be in between 0.08, which did get over here. But remember, it can't be equal to 0.08. It has to be greater than 0.08. So it's not going to be this. Okay, this does not belong to a. We know this one does not belong to a. Um, yeah, and it also has to be smaller than or equal to 0.8. This one does belong to a. We can put a over here. 0.88888. This one does not belong to A because it has to be smaller than or equal to 0.8, and this one is getting bigger than 0.8. And lastly, this one, 0.283, it does belong because it's between this number and this number, so this belongs to A. So now we're going to look at the values that belong to B. They all have to be greater than or equal to 0.8. So we know this one does belong to B. We can write B over here. And this one does not belong to B. It's not greater than 0.8. This one does not belong to B. Yeah. So, okay, wait. Oh, sorry. Greater than equal to 0.8. So we know this one also does belong to B. AB. So this one belongs to both A and B. So now that we know which of all of them our values belong to, we can start putting them in here. So we know that this one belongs to A and B. So that's going to be in the intersection. So over here we can write 8 into 10 to the power minus 1. Okay, and um over here we know in A, this one belongs to A, so it's over here we can write root 0.08. And over here in B, the only one that belongs to B is 0.8 with the dot above. Don't forget that. And this one, 8%, doesn't belong to either of them. So, but it's in the set. So we have to just leave it outside both of the Venn diagrams. And when you're writing it in here, don't write the simplified forms you wrote, write the forms that they gave. Okay, so for part B, shade the region A union C which intersects with B complement. So let's decode this. Let's first find A union C. Hold on. Yeah, A union C. So for this, we just want everything that comes in A and everything that comes in C. That's going to be both A and all of C. Okay, so now for B, and now we're going to find B complement. Okay, yeah. So for B complement, that's going to be everything outside of B. So we're just going to use the highlighter. So it's going to be all of these parts. Everything that doesn't come inside B. So now we want everything that doesn't come under A union C, which also doesn't come under which also everything that comes under A union C, which also doesn't come under B. So that's going to be the parts where the lines intersect with the crosses. So now we can see it's these three parts. These three parts have both. So now we can remove all of our extra stuff. So if you're in the exam, what you do is just shade it with two different types of shading. So you can have like crosses and then maybe like dots or something. So you can check which it comes under. Now that's just going to be all of this. Okay, for the next question. Question 19. A solid is made from a cylinder and a hemisphere, both a radius 4.3. centimeters. The cylinder has a length 11.9, this much. Calculate the volume of the solid. So they've given us the volume of the sphere over here, and we know over here this is a hemisphere, which is half a sphere. So it's going to be half this volume. So V1, which take that as V1, is going to be 4 by 3. Hold on, sorry. 4 by 3 pi r cubed divided by 2, and we all we have to do is 4 by 2, which will just be 2. So we can just make this 2 by 3 pi r cubed. So now we have r cubed, which we know to be 4.3 centimeters. So all we have to do is substitute this in the formula. So just put that straight into your calculator, 2 by 3 into pi into 4.3 cubed. And you should get 166.5. So now V2 is going to be the volume of the cylinder. Here, they haven't given us the formula, but you should have this memorized. And it should be, and it is, pi r squared h. So now again, we have 4.3 and we have h length, which is 11.9. So this is 11.9. And all we need to do is again put everything in your calculator. So pi into 4.3 squared into 11.9. And you should get 691.2. So now we just have to do V1 plus V2. And you should write that. So just put that in your calculator. You get something, you should get 857.7. So now we can just round this off. Remember 3 significant figures. So that would be 858. For the next question, calculate the total surface area of the solid. The surface area A of a sphere with radius r is A equals 4 pi r squared. So we know that, again, for the hemisphere, it's just going to be half of this, and so it's going to be, let's take this as S1 equals 4 pi r squared by 2, and again, 4 by 2 is just 2, or you could just write it like this and put this in your calculator. So, and we know the radius already, 4.3. R equals 4.3 equals, so now just put 4 into pi into 4.3 squared divided by 2 in your calculator, and you should get 1849 by 50 pi. So just leave it in terms of pi if you get a long decimal, because then you know your value is more accurate when you add the values. So now we want S2 of this. And remember, we don't want the entire surface area of the cylinder because this top part won't be there. All that's going to be on the outside is the top of the hemisphere, the cylinder, and the bottom circle. So now to calculate S2, it's going to be equals 2 pi r h plus pi r squared, and this is going to be the bottom circle. We don't have the top circle. So normally of a surface area of a cylinder would be plus 2 pi r squared, but over here we don't have the top circle. We only have the bottom circle. So that's just going to be 1 pi r squared. So we know r again is 4.3, and we know h over here is going to be 11.9. So put that in your calculator, 2 pi into 4.3 into 11.9. And then you can add that to pi into 4.3 squared. And you should get 12083 by 100 into pi. So now we just do S2 plus S1 equals. So now what you can do is just add these two fractions and then multiply them with pi, or you can just add the whole thing. Think it's better to just add the whole thing. So just put that in your calculator and make sure it's a fraction. 1849 pi divided by 50 plus 12083 pi divided by 100. And your answer should be 495.7. So now again round it off and you'll get 496. Okay, question 20. Find an expression for the nth term of the sequence. 1 by 7, 1, 7, 49, 340. Okay, so 343, 2401. So we know that there are some fractions and it's obviously getting like much bigger. It's a geometric sequence, okay? We know it's not going to be an arithmetic sequence. And we can also define, so basically we also know that the nth term over here for geometric is going to be is going to be a into wait sorry uh yeah a into r to the power n minus 1, where a is first term. Okay, so now we just need to find r, and we know that r is going to be the difference between each of these. So the difference between these two, difference between these two, and since it's geometric, all we have to do is divide the first term by the previous term. So you can put this in your calculator, 1 by 1 by 7, and you should get 7. Again, 7 by 1 will be 7. 49 by 7 is 7. So just do it for all of them to make sure that you are getting the same value. Okay, but now we can confidently say that the difference will be the multiplier over here. The ratio is 7. So now the nth term is going to be a, which is 1 by 7. 1 by 7 into 7 to the power n minus 1. So now we can't leave it here like this, because we do know that over here 1 by 7 is nothing but 7 to the power minus 1. And we also, because the whenever you take a fraction, this to the power 1, and since it's going to be 1 divided by 7 to the power 1, we know that according to the exponent rules, this is 7 to the power minus 1. And so we know that it's 7 to the power minus 1 into 7 to the power n minus 1. So now, again, since these are both exponents with the same base, we know that any number to the power a into n to the power b is equal to n to the power a plus b. So we can take this as minus 7 to the power minus 1 plus n minus 1. And this is nothing but 7 to the power n minus 1, which is minus 2. So this will be our final answer. So if these are different bases, then you can leave it like this. But since they are the same, you do have to add them up and make sure you're getting the simplified form. Okay, expand and simplify. X plus 3 into x plus 5 into 2x plus 1. Okay, so first let's just take these two. Okay, so we can just expand these. So remember, we have to multiply each term into my bad. So x has to go into x has to go into 5, and 3 has to go into x, and 3 has to go into 5. So that's going to be x into x, which is x squared, plus x into 5, which is 5x, plus now we finished the x, now with the 3, so 3 into x, which is 3x, and again 3 into 5, which is 15. So first, before we multiply this into the other term, we can simplify this, which is again x squared, and 5x plus 3x, which is 5 plus 3 is 8, so that will be plus 8x plus 15. So now, we have to multiply this into 2x plus 1. So now remember, all of these terms are going to, these both terms are going to go into all of these. It's going to be this into this, this into this, this into this, and this into, again, all of them. So first, that's going to be 2x into 15. You can put that into your calculator, which will be, well, actually, let's start from x squared. So, wait, instead of doing all of that, I think it'll be better to do this into this and this into this and this, and this into this and this. So, x squared into 2x will be 2x cubed, plus, now we have x squared into 1, which is, of course, x squared. Then we have 8x into 2x. Put in your calculator, and you should get 16x squared. Then 8x into 1, which is 8x. And lastly, 15 into 2x, which should be 30x. Sorry, my bad. 30x. And 15 into 1, which is 15. So now we do have a few like terms here, these two and these two, which we can simplify. So we know, so we can make this 2x cubed plus, so that's going to be 1x squared plus 16x squared, which is 1 plus 16, which is 17x squared. And then we have 8x squared plus 30x, which is 8 plus 30, which is 38x. And lastly, plus 15. So all you have to do is write that in the final blank over here. Make sure you don't just leave it here, because the examiner doesn't know if it's your final answer or if it's just working.
And I think for questions like these, you should take it slowly and not try to rush things through. Because I think that's where you tend to make those errors and mistakes.
Yeah, and don't do anything in your head. Like, if you're confused, like, write everything down individually. Okay. Uh, 22. A is the point 17, comma 9, and B is the point 23, comma 39. So if you're confused over here, just maybe draw like a rough sketch. This is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and we know A is somewhere around, let's take 17, 9. A, let's write A, and B is more along the x-axis and more along the y-axis. So somewhere over here. Okay, find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of line AB. So this is line AB, and we want the perpendicular bisector, which is this. Give your answer in the form y equals mx plus c. Okay, so we know that for this line, so first we need to find the gradient of AB, because we know that so first we need to find, let's find the gradient of AB. Wait, hold on. AB equals, and we know it's just y1 plus y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. So over here, that's going to be y1 minus y2, which is 39 minus 9, which is going to be 30, divided by x1, 23 minus 17. 23 minus 17. And over here, you can also make it 39 minus 9. So all you have to do is put this in your calculator. 23 minus 17, and you should get 5. So also, we should also find the midpoint over here to find a point that the other line has. So M of AB, we know the midpoint formula is going to be y1 plus y2, sorry, my bad. It'll be x1 plus x2 by 2, comma y1 plus y2 by 2, which is going to be equal to, for the x's, 17 plus 23 by 2. You can put that in your calculator. 17 plus 23, the whole thing, divided by 2. Don't forget to add the brackets over here and over here. So you should get 20, comma 9 plus 39 by 2. So 9 plus 39 divided by 2. You should get 24. So now we know that the gradient of the perpendicular bisector, this line, is going to be the negative reciprocal of 5. So that's going to be G of PB, which is perpendicular bisector, is equal to minus 1 by 5 equals, equal to just minus 1 by 5. Can't simplify that any further. So now we want the now all we need to do, so we know that for any line y equals mx plus c, and we have m over here, and we also have y and x, which is over here 24 and 20. So to find c, we just need to substitute everything inside this formula. So we can say 24, which is the y coordinate we found over here, the midpoint of AB, which does belong to the perpendicular bisector. So 24 equals the midpoint, sorry, the slope, which is minus 1 by 5, into 20 plus c. So now to find c, we just need to make c the subject of the formula. So all we have to do is subtract this from this 24. So first, we just have to do 20 into minus 1 by 5. And you should get minus 4. So now we do 24 minus minus 4 equals 24 minus minus 4. Don't forget the minus sign. Yeah, so that's going to be 24 plus 4, which will be 28. So now we know c is equal to 28, and we also know m. So we can say y is equal to minus 1 by 5x plus 28. And that's our final answer. Now question 23. So there's a small box and there's a large box. The small box is mathematically similar to the large box. The volume of the large box is 72.8% greater than the volume of the small box. And the small box has a length 3.5. This is 3.5. And the large box has a length x. Calculate the value of x. Okay, so we know that these two are mathematically similar. So if we scale it up, the volumes are going to be similar. We know that the scale factor over here is going to be x divided by 3.5. So we know that's going to be the scale factor. And we also know that for volume, the scale factor is cubed. So we know that this is going to equal to v cubed. This is going to equal to the cube root of the volume scale factors, v2 by v1. Okay, yeah. So now we have this information, and we also know or we can also rewrite this and say that the scale factor, the cube of the scale factor, is going to equal to the volumes. Sorry, v2 by v1. The scale factor of the volumes. And we also know that this v2, the volume of the large box, is 72.8% greater than the volume of the small box. So we know that it's v. So we can take this out and say v2. So we also know, v2 by v1. We also know v2 is equal to 72.8% greater. Remember, not 72.8% into, but greater. So that's going to be 100% plus 72.8%. So it's going to be 172.8 by 100 which is percent, into v1. So then using this and this, we can say that we can just put this over here and say that instead of v2 over here, we can write and divide this by 100 if you want. So 1.728 v1 by v1. So since v1s are the same, we can literally just cancel these out. Cancel out v1s. Okay, so now we have this equation. We just need to find x. So to find x, we have this. So we can cube root both sides, and we can say x by 3.5 equals the cube root of 1.728. So just put that into your calculator. 1.728. And remember to put cube root, not square root. Want the cube root. And you should get this, the cube root of 1.728 to equal 1.2. So now we know x divided by 3.5 equals 1.2. And to find x, all we have to do is get rid of the denominator, multiply both sides by 3.5. So that will be 1.2 into 3.5, and you should get x equals 4.2 as the answer. And yeah, that's the last question.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next video where Varshini will take you through another past paper. Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye.